Now, when creating a function that returns values, no matter if it's one or multiple values, there also is an alternative syntax you could use for returning these values. Instead of having your return keyword and then a list of all the values or variables that hold values that should be returned, you could go to the place where you define your return value types and give those return values names here. For example, FV and RFV. So the same names I'm using here in my code then. That will then actually tell Go to already create variables of that name, FV and RFV, and you can then use these variables here. Therefore, you don't have to declare them, instead they already exist, so you don't need this colon equals sign operator here, which creates and initializes a variable, but instead just the equal sign. Since the variable was already created, therefore you just need to assign a value. And then you could continue to return the values like this, but alternatively, you can also just type return. And Go will automatically return these variables, so these two values. Therefore, if you save that code and you run the application, you'll get the same result as before, but now with this alternative notation. But I personally actually prefer explicitly stating what I return, because especially if your functions get more complex and longer, it can become confusing if you just have the return keyword there. Because you then have to go back here and see which variables were specified here and find them in the code. And I personally don't like that, but of course, you can go for that shorter style if you want to. I will keep these variable declarations here in place though, because it can indeed make a function a bit easier to understand if you give your return values names here, but I then explicitly return them like this. Again, it's up to you which approach you personally prefer.